Hello everyone, Francis Walsh here again with the Personal Finance Diaries, and today we're going to be talking about car lease exits, and we're going to be looking specifically at two of the biggest providers of services in this space, Lease End and Swapalease. So these companies, they both help drivers get out of leases, I suppose, but they take different approaches towards doing it. So Lease End will help you either buy or sell your leased vehicle, while Swapalease, as the name kind of suggests, will help you just swap the lease over to someone else. So depending on your circumstances, one or other of these options might make more sense for you. And I suppose so your circumstances are really going to be the most important differentiator in this discussion. But there are a few headings under which we can compare the two companies as well. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. So first we're going to compare the two platforms on the basis of ease of use. And I think this is one of the most important selling points of any service provider in this area, just because exiting car leases is notoriously labour intensive and leasing companies can make it quite difficult for you. So ideally you're going to want a service provider that takes as much of the hardship out of this process as possible. Now I think this is something Lease End does really well. Its entire platform was really designed with ease of use in mind, and it really does just make the lease exiting process as easy as possible for you as a driver. So you start the process with just an online consultation or a quick phone call. That's pretty quick and painless, and then once the process is in motion, Lease End really does most of it at that point from there. You won't have to navigate any confusing processes with the leasing company itself, and everything can pretty much be done inside the space of a single day. And what's really nice about all of this is that Lease End will actually shop around for a low interest buyout loan for you if you plan on buying your vehicle. And this is another part of the process that, if you're to do it yourself, is quite labour intensive, particularly if you're shopping around for quotes from a number of different banks. So yeah, I really do like how easy Lease End makes this entire process. Swapalease then, on the other hand, will leave a lot more of the work to you. So it's a multi-step DIY process even after you get set up on the platform. So how it basically works is that you just use Swapalease to make a listing. It's not as if they're going to do the entire process for you. You just post an ad basically on their platform. And from there, it's time for you to field inquiries from potential lease takeover parties yourself. You'll have to sort the wheat from the chaff in this regard, because there will be quite a few unserious inquiries to deal with. There'll be a credit application for the lender for the new for the party taking over the lease. You'll have to square all this with the lender, and there's obviously a registration process there. And there's the exchange of multiple items of paperwork, usually via email, and this can all take up to several weeks. So yeah, it's really not as painless a process as Lease End. This is kind of just because of the nature of the handover. It's it's obviously not the same thing, so there are going to be different steps involved. But if what you're looking for is an easy process, then I think Lease End is clearly the winner here. So next we're going to look at value for money, and I think really this is one of the key areas that you'll want to focus on if you're considering whom to go with for this service. So Lease End, again, I'm quite a big fan of the job they do here. They really, make it important that you as a seller, you're not going to encounter too much cost. They also make it quite easy to figure out how much the whole thing is going to cost you. There's a free lease buyout calculator right here on their website. And really one of the best things about this whole part of the process is that Lease End don't charge you any fees directly. They make money for origination fees for loans if you plan to buy your leased vehicle and get a loan from a bank. And they can also make money off the margin if you choose to sell your car. So if you sell out your lease and there is a profit to be made by selling it on to a new driver, Lease End takes a portion of that. So that's how they make their money. So while technically you are paying fees, there's no direct consultation fee or platform fee for using the service. So it does work out in quite a cost-effective way. Swapalease then isn't really as impressive from the perspective of value for money. There is a listing fee that you will have to pay regardless of whether or not your listing is successful. So essentially just money you're spending just to get your vehicle up on the platform. And then there's also a success fee once your transfer goes through. Now the basic listing fee is $75, and that's allowing you to put up one photo of your vehicle and to get basic exposure. You can choose to pay for premium listing tiers then as well, which give you additional photos and additional exposure, and these can cost you anywhere from $199 to $299. And the success fee regardless of the tier at which you list. So yeah, the value for money thing really is dependent on the type of situation you're in. It may make more financial sense for you to transfer your lease than to buy your car or sell your car, but from the point of view of direct fees, Swapalease really is more expensive than Lease End. I should also note then that you may have to sweeten the deal if you're on Swapalease. If your listing doesn't really make a lot of fiscal sense for someone to take over, then you might have to add in an incentive or a few hundred or even a few $1,000s to make it more attractive. So that's another factor to consider as well. But yeah, like overall in this category, Lease End is generally better value for money, I would say. Then customer support is the next category we're going to be looking at the two companies in. Lease End here, there's not really much negative I can say about Lease End in this regard. Their whole platform is really built around customer support and offering concierge level service. They'll assign an account manager to deal with your case as soon as you sign up on the platform, and that's the account manager that will deal with you throughout the lease exit process. And yeah, there's really not much more they could do for you here. They do really offer white glove customer support. Swapalease really also do offer high class customer support. Again, you get a single account manager with Swapalease that will be with you throughout the process. And similarly, they're on hand to answer any questions you have and to offer updates as the process progresses. And so generally speaking, I'm really a big fan of Swapalease in this category as well. One minor quibble I have is that the sales reps do tend to try and upsell you. As I was saying, it is a tiered service, so it's obviously better for the company and for the rep if you're on a more expensive plan. So if you do try to sign up for the most basic tier, you should be prepared for the Swapalease rep to try and upsell you. But other than that, I am really a big fan of their service, and this is the only thing that will kind of put them a level below Lease End for me in this category. And so finally, we're going to rank these two companies on the basis of their success rate and their timing. So how long it takes for the lease exit process to complete in both cases. Now with Lease End, it really does depend on your specific situation, but the two biggest factors with Lease End that will dictate this are if you're buying, whether you qualify for a loan, and if you're selling, whether your car represents a good punt for the company. So if you qualify for a lease buyout loan and you're looking to buy your car, the process should be straightforward. And if your car is potentially profitable for Lease End, so if there is a premium over and above what your lease buyout cost will be, then the company is likely to take it on and the process is likely to succeed as well. So if you do meet either of those criteria, the process should be really easy. If you don't, there may be some problems for you. If you do qualify for either a purchase or a sale, then the process is really easy from there. It gets moving within minutes, and it does typically reach a resolution within a couple of weeks because Lease End is quite efficient when it comes to all this. And one other point I would make here is that once you get acceptance, you're on a clear path to resolution. You're not relying on any third parties at that point. It really is just up to Lease End, and Lease End is really good at getting these deals over the line. With Swapalease, on the other hand, success is far from guaranteed because, again, you're relying on third parties. I mean, the platform, you're only putting your car up on the platform for third parties to consider. So if your car represents a good deal for a third party, i.e. if it is, we'll say, a good deal on a newish model and, the lease is a favourable one, you'll probably get someone to take that over. But if your lease doesn't represent good value for money, you could end up with your listing sitting on Swapalease for months or even years, and that has happened in some cases. And it's also important to remember that because you're paying a listing fee, this can represent dead money in a case like that, which obviously is not something you'll need to factor in with Lease End. Again, this is pretty context dependent, but typically the process is quicker and more painless with Lease End. So in summation then, the choice between Lease End and Swapalease really is a context dependent one. If you would prefer to swap your lease than to buy your car outright or to sell it, then Swapalease probably is the best option for you. But in terms of the headings we've discussed here, there really is more to like about Lease End than Swapalease, I think. The process is easier, you've got a better guarantee of success, and it's probably going to work out better from a financial standpoint as well. But yeah, that's all from me in this video. Best of luck to anyone who is involved in the lease exit process at present, and I'll see you all in the next video.